This is my review on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse from 2018. And now that we know that Across Spider-Man is canon within the MCU, I can officially say that this is my favorite MCU movie within the MCU. Thanks to Across the Spider-Verse, I haven't seen that movie, but I know enough that can kind of confirm the MCU canon timeline, and this is the expansion of the MCU in a different timeline. And so I count this as an MCU movie and the best one. Next to the Deadpool 2, or yeah, Deadpool 2 or Deadpool 1, you know. So, I give this a solid 10 out of 10. I don't really have that much complaints about it. I mean, if I have one complaint, I have picked one complaint. I really hate that it killed off Chris Pine's Peter Parker, also known as Spider-Man, in the earlier in the movie. After Miles gets the powers and is become more aware of what's going on with him, and runs into Peter Parker. And the spider that bit him said, well, it said 42 on it. We don't know what that is about. And it seems to be glitching out of reality, the spider. Similar to how the other variants of the Spider-Man or Spider-Woman within the multiverse of the Spider-Verse glitch. So pretty much everyone on the internet, at least on YouTube, and me, guessed that this was from a different dimension, the spider, and Across Spider-Verse kind of confirmed that. So I hear. I haven't seen really that many clips. Okay. So. Right before Peter Parker gets killed off, within Miles' dimension, he pretty much sees the entire events of this movie play out. If you actually he sees pretty much the entire events of this movie play out of Into the Spider-Verse, so he seems to know what's going to happen, how it's going to end. And as far as we know, he could have seen what happens in Across the Spider-Verse, as far as we know. But it's like, because we do see clips of this. When his head's in this machine that's opening up dimensions within the multiverse, that Kingpin and has since the stakes built for Kingpin. So because the reason why Kingpin wants to do this is to get a family that died, that's his family, that died in a car accident because they left him, because they saw him fighting with Spider-Man. So, news was out that he's a bad guy to his family, so they left him and died in a car accident. So he wants that family back in his life, so even if he needs to take one from a different dimension. Okay. I see a few problems with that going south, in hindsight, but well, he's grieving and doesn't really care. So Kingpin doesn't. So so. Anyway, it's called Collider, the machine is, I believe. It blows up and pretty badly damaged. This thing gets damaged and totaled after, the Green Goblin did something stupid by putting Peter's head in the Collider, which seems to got the attention based off visuals of the film. What we can make out in this scene when Spider-Man's in the Collider. Seems to, I don't know, got the attention of all the Spiders people in the multiverse somehow. And drew attention. Now they're in a bunch of Spider people in this dimension that Miles is from. And turns out they can't stay there till otherwise the body will decay and die. As they glitch out of reality and back into it. And it looks like it's painful. So the only two one until we run into the Calvary in the third act. The one that we know about is B. Parker, who is a much older Spider-Man, pushing middle age. I think he says he's been a Spider-Man for like 25 years and 15 years plus. It said so. How many? Hey, Dad, what's 25 years plus 15 years? That's how long he's been Spider-Man for?
30 plus years.
40 years.
30 years plus 15 years. 45.
No, I said 25 plus 15
40,
years.
40.
And was in those 40 years of being... Wait, does that mean he's... If I got that right, he's pushing middle age at that point? Because he's been Spider-Man since he was 15. That Spider-Man, all of those Spider-Man that Peter Parker, you know, from this movie, okay. So does that, how old does this Spider-Man is? What do you think?
I don't know. 40 or 50.
Do you think he's like pushing, he's getting up there, right?
Yeah.
He's definitely not in his prime anymore, right?
Right.
Yeah, 40 or 50 probably. Anyway, so what happened in those 40 years total of being Spider-Man is he learns great power comes great responsibility, and never ever invests and make a dicey mind deals in selling us and opening up a Spidey restaurant. Because that did not involve him. He ended up going a bit bankrupt and lost more money than he could chew. In other words, so and also his Aunt May died, and buried his Aunt May. He filed for a divorce and went through with the divorce with MJ, also known as Mary Jane, because he didn't want to have kids, but she did, and he had freaked him out. And now he's all out of shape and has a 5 o'clock shadow and spending all of his time inside his costume, lunging around and sweating in his costume all the time. He never takes it off, not even in the shower. When he's crying in the shower, it's actually pretty sad. And he's also obsessed with seahorses because he wants him, because of his thing was going, because his divorce makes him think of seahorses, how him and MJ used to be, and now him and MJ are separated. So he just doesn't give a fuck about being Spider-Man anymore, even though he still doesn't. Clearly doesn't want to be Spider-Man anymore, and is taking a serious toll on him. The years of being Spider-Man. And also, he broke his back after getting hit in the head with a drone while swinging. That too. At one time, he said, and he said he might have saved the world a bit too many times, and blah blah blah. He says he's trying to get in shape, and so he said he was doing crunches and getting strong, but you see this cut coming out, and the next thing you know, I guess after he just finished crunches, and next thing you know, he's having pepperoni pizza from a pizza place or takeout. Oh yes, that'll help you burn the calories better, Peter Parker. Eat your feelings. I feel bad for him. So there's this trend going on around the internet that Chris Pine was a bad Peter Parker and a bad Spider-Man because he represents everything that Spider-Man shouldn't be. I disagree with that completely, okay? I think that the reason why Peter B. Parker voice as an older Spider-Man is because we never seen this Spider-Man so broken and beaten down from the world that he carries on his shoulders. So basically, he's the better version of Ben Affleck's Batman that Ben Affleck wished he could have been. Suck it! So why is he still Spider-Man? I don't think at this point he even knows why he hasn't retired. The best thing I can give an explanation on, share some light on this, is that because he's still a hero at heart. Even though he just doesn't really give a shit anymore. And, so Miles runs into Peter B. Parker after Peter Parker from Miles' dimension gets killed off brutally by the Kingpin in one blow. Well, he's helplessly laying on the ground and just got his mask removed, and he gets killed off by Kingpin because Kingpin didn't could tell that Spider-Man was wasting his time. And yeah, what I like about this scene, I actually like this scene because I like how they made Spider-Man into a pussy because he really didn't tell Kingpin what he really saw. He just knows what Kingpin's endgame is to try and bring his family back even though they're gone. So he said that's what he saw in the Collider, but that's not what he really saw because we've seen the footage. He's just seen the other Spider-Man that have come from other dimensions to this dimension. When all that commotion was happening, right before he got killed off, was in the Collider, he got shoved in the Collider by Goblin. And now he's dead. Everyone's mourning him, especially Miles, because he feels like he has a big responsibility to live up to of the legacy of Peter Parker left behind. So, and he has to put this little flash drive in the machine before it turns on again, and you know, he has to swing up he has to swing up to the ceiling and put it in the machine and press the green button. And Peter didn't know that Miles does have no experience with swinging. It guess it didn't occur to him. Yeah. Peter runs into Miles and becomes friends with Miles right before getting killed off after he saves Miles' skin, and finds out that he has spider senses just like him. But I did thought it was strange how it switched from green and purple to red and blue. And of course, I do know how Across the Spider-Verse ends. But I think it's a possibility that they might have to tie in with the end of Across the Spider-Verse with the variant of Miles being the Prowler Across the Spider-Verse. Is how I think that why he's because it almost looked like when he was first picking up Miles, he looks like he was afraid of him because when Spidey sense kicked in, but then he actually started to calm down. It's almost like he sensed that he's not. Almost like he sensed saw the good in him. Because I know that Spider-Man face. That's usually the face when he's reacting to danger or someone trying to kill him. And in this movie, I think, yeah, and that's the same face he makes before dodging all the goblins in the Sinister Six attack with his Spidey sense using it. So, I don't know what that exactly is leading to, but I guess I'm gonna get like that answered refund of why Peter seemed freaked out. Then he seemed to warmed up to Miles before he even said something this by sensing his own spider sense. I don't know, maybe may have something to do with is something. I'm not sure of it. I don't know. I don't have the answer to this movie. Didn't give me that answer, so. And the reason why I say I completely disagree with what people are saying about Chris Pine's Peter Parker and Jake Johnson being in Peter Parker, like commenting on how people say, oh, Pine was a terrible Peter Parker, Johnson was a great Peter Parker because he understood he was like a Peter Parker from the comics. Chris Pine wasn't, because he never shot well. That's not entirely true. Well, I don't know if people knows, but before we get to Peter B. Parker and Gwen, the introductions of the Spider-Man, the first one introduces himself. One from Miles' mission for Peter. Well, it shows the highlights of is showing all of the highlights of his life. They're definitely highlights, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he's glancing over some serious trauma stuff, and probably just like giving you the highlights of the gist of who he is. And that seems like what it's meant to do, and it seems like what Gwen and Peter do from the other dimension. Peter and Gwen. That's not from Miles' dimension. Seem to do, but it seems like they had they're a bit lost in a bit of tight space right now. So if like Miles is because he feels like he can't live up to Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and the legacy he left behind, and so after Miles starts his train and falls off his ass off of a building, trying to swing and use his powers, and trying to do something, trying to set his Spider-Man train in the middle of his Spider-Man train. And the first try, he failed, and he fell off the building. Luckily, he's perfectly fine, but the flash drive that Peter gave him is completely totaled and busted and not working. So he goes to Peter's funeral, Peter's like gravestone, and says that he's sorry because it looks like he really broke it, and he wants to do what was right, what Peter wanted him to do, which was save the world in the multiverse, but he can't now because he destroyed the only solution. And that's when Peter B. Parker from the Underdimension has been Peter's been Spider-Man for 40 years in a different timeline, shows up, and Miles gets the drop on Peter and knocks him unconscious, and then he gets chased by the cops because he's wearing a Spider-Man costume at Spider-Man's graveyard, and they think that he killed a man. That's a hobo. Because Peter's dressed like a hobo. But he's wearing sweatpants, he's wearing a long jacket that's all beat up and stuff. And he's wearing beat up clothes. And I guess this is all he could find in his size. So Miles tries to break free from the cops by swinging across hilariously over Manhattan. And Peter wakes up in the middle of everything, and he asks Miles, "Why are you trying to kill me? Who are you?" He said, "Who are you? Why are you trying to kill me?" And Miles responds, he's trying to save him, not kill him, but he's doing a terrible job at it, because at some point, somehow, he just keeps on slamming Peter's face on everything and his body everywhere. His own gravestone, the streets, the cars, the train. Getting him to lose a tooth. It's funny as shit, man. This thing was hilarious. So Peter wakes up in Miles' room, and Miles has him all tied up, and he's trying to interrogate him by asking him a question on why does he look like Peter, and why is he a different shape than him, and why does he look older and have a different hair color. He's asking all these questions, and Peter's upset that he actually called him fat. Because he is fat. Peter's fat. And well, he's not the worst shape of a superhero shape, but yeah, he's got a gut. And so he says he is Peter Parker, but Miles has trouble believing until he puts two and two together over a theory he had in his head that pops in his head after studying multiverse in class theory, which is in a school that he goes to. And this was shown early on in the film when he was late for class and ran into Gwen for the first time. Gwen goes under the name Gwendolyn and poses as a student for Miles, also a freshman, as Miles in his school. But some reason nobody ever knows that she doesn't go to school here for some reason, and nobody ever checked. She just walked in, dressed up as a student, and boom. And yeah. So Peter unties himself by getting Miles by talking to Miles, and he says, he basically thinks, he says, watch the hands, don't look in the mouse, watch the hands, and leaves Miles in his universe to die that he's not part of. And because he's so weak, he needs to get to the light to turn on the light so he can get home. And he doesn't really see a big deal into he doesn't see like a big deal on this, because he's so used to fixing everything at the last moment. So this is kind of a useful situation for him, usual situation for him. So yeah. Then he finds out he broke the flash drive after stealing it from Miles. And Miles explains that Peter from his world was supposed to teach him the ropes being Spider-Man, and expects him to fix the problem by putting this chip in the clock and pressing the green button to shut it off permanently. So Peter lets Miles tag along and decides to help him and train be Spider-Man. And he is a shitty teacher. He's lazy. Even Miles knows that he's going to be a horrible teacher. He even comments on it when they're going out for burgers before taking the bus instead of swinging, because he doesn't want to ruin his appetite after a fresh burger. So yeah. So they make it to the place when they need to make a new one. And you get the stuff that the information that was on that, and which Peter calls it a goober. So I'm going to call that too. The flash ice is goober, and he calls it goober because he calls it because everyone calls it a thingamabob. Everyone calls it a doohickey. So he calls it a goober. Because why not? It's a made up name. It's not really real. Because let's just make up names. It's just random nonsense. So, yeah. They get to the place and run some trouble. Then they run into Gwen. She gives her explanation of who she really is and where she's from. So after they catch up with Gwen, and Gwen catches up with them and explains, and they all explain each other what's going on. They give all each backstory stuff. So, and they ditch the bad guys, and they meet at Peter's Aunt May house from this world on Miles's world. So Peter's all a nervous wreck.